Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I am very pumped today to welcome again Katie Zarko. Katie, thank you so much for accepting my invite for a second time. You are an ex-carnivore, and I want to talk more about why you quit carnivore, what are the benefits, and since our last chat, what have you discovered and how have you evolved since our last interview, which wasn't really that long ago.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Oh, the loaded question. The long and short of it is I wish I had been a bit more transparent in the beginning as to why I was doing carnivore, because I kind of put my eggs in all one basket, assuming that this was the cure, the panacea that I was looking for. How dare I ever assume that my plant-based diet was ever going to hurt me, or could. And it was all for the purpose of wondering, or the big question as to should I have explant surgery? And I know that there are hundreds of thousands of women who still pursue getting breast implants, but we do that just assuming that on the other side of surgery, we just have a more confident self. We don't look at, I think we all assume we're going to be unicorns. And much to my, I don't know, disillusionment, 2.5 years after getting my breast implants, I wasn't feeling great. I mean, thank God for being a super sensitive human. I had to do a process of elimination and abandoning or foregoing my vegan diet for a meat-based one was an effort to see if my implants were hurting me.
Mm.
And 3.5 months into carnivore, I mean, I had like that whole love affair the first 30 days where this is it, this is the answer, this is awesome. For whatever reason, maybe just, I don't, the high of something new, rewriting my identity, shifting the narrative, whatever it was. But slowly after that, it was just a downward spiral. And I tried to pick up the pace. The learning curve was so huge, but I could never catch up to like the best I ever felt prior to that, which was, feeling mentally clear and energetic and wanting to move my body and feeling uninflamed and just inspired. And so I also had to take myself pre-breast plant implant as well and think, okay, let's just get really honest and real with myself here. Like these don't belong in my body. Let's get them out and then continue the healing journey.
Did you get
So,
the silicone implants or the water ones?
saline, I had under the muscle silicone gummy bear implants, 415 in the right and 375 in the left.
Right. They all have a silicone covering anyway, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
regardless, if you're gonna react to the silicone, you're gonna react to either one.
Yeah.
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 I
So it was
I
just,
I, I still have the like at some point I'm gonna look into like the fat transfer ones.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
those are the ones, yeah, because for me, I've just heard too many horror stories with the silicone ones, and so if anything, I would do like a
Like a
fat
little fluff up or
transfer.
something.
Yeah, but I mean, thankfully, it's good. Like I'm a B cup, which looks good. But it's if you ever want to take it like to another level, I don't know.
Well,
We'll think about that.
with your fitness, I think what you'll come to appreciate, especially because like all these fashion trends and the way we feel clothes fit on our bodies, like all of that has shape shifted so much. I mean, I
Right.
look at my body pre-implants and I was like, I loved myself then. I loved my body then. I don't know what I imagined having bigger breasts was going to do other than hopefully give me more confidence, but I'm a therapist, so I know that none of us get breast implants because of actually having big boobs. It was like a lot of self-betrayal as a result of lots of other betrayal and just
Yeah.
a power move, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
anyway, just choosing to finally get an explant and continue the healing journey and go back to what was familiar. I'm, I don't even label myself anything, animal based, vegan, plant based. Like I'm eating food that my body has received. And thankfully, I've had tons of experience with experimenting. And it's been a really cool, being on the other side of all of it.
Yeah.
Hindsight's always 2020.
Right. Yeah, likewise. I mean, I feel like I've wasted 10 years of my life being so scared of carbs when I could have had this physique 10 years ago. I could have had this income, this energy, this happiness, this mood, this
Mhm.
skin is infinitely better. It's more glowy. I mean, is there anything that has not been turbocharged since quitting carnivore and reintroducing carbs, all the carbs? And it's like I'm on the
How's your
all foods
sleep?
diet. Yeah. What?
How's your sleep in
Oh,
all of
I mean, I never really had an issue with like insomnia
that? Mm.
personally. Although I do notice now that I feel like I used to sometimes need 9 or 10 hours, and now it's like 7, 8. Like I feel like the sleep quality has improved, so I don't need to sleep as much. So it's like saving me 2 hours a day to
Wow.
and still feeling like I got the maximum amount of sleep that I could possibly get. I'm so optimized at just like 8 hours of sleep. When if I needed to feel that, it needed to be nine, sometimes 10.
Wow. See,
That's why.
that the opposite was for me. I was getting like 4 to 5 hours of sleep on carnivore.
Uh-huh.
And I am getting like a full 7.5, 8 hours of sleep now, but I also think I'm catching up and I'm recovering from surgery too, so that could be part of it. But I'm just sleeping fuller, longer, and I don't know if I'm dropping into more deep sleep, like REM, now, but I see only benefits from a sleep standpoint. And we emphasize sleep a lot in our healing journey, right? Because
So important.
it's
It's
so
everything.
essential.
Yeah. Just 1 or 2 hours of missed sleep compared to what your body requires can reduce your insulin sensitivity by the equivalent of 75 grams of carbs.
Yeah,
Imagine,
I
like the
believe it.
next day, you would have to drop your carbs by 75 grams if you wanted to maintain optimal blood sugar control. That's how
But what do
powerful sleep
people
is.
crave the most after a night of sleep
Exactly.
or not
Yeah.
sleeping?
Yeah, yeah, it shoots up. It's like I remember when I was teaching at the University of Miami and Miami-Dade College and all these places, I remember in one of my slides I would show that study to everybody showing how poor sleep is correlated with around a 45% increase in desire for drug foods, hyperpalatable foods the next day.
Yep. Yep.
Leptin, leptin is the appetite suppression hormone. It drops by 30%, and that you see that increase also in hunger, and ghrelin, which is your main appetite hormone. It also goes up by around that same rate.
Yeah.
Sleep is so critically important. I think measuring blood sugar and seeing how your blood sugar reacts to not getting enough sleep is like the best motivator to ensure you're getting proper sleep and you
Are
recover
you
faster. Yeah.
are you checking your glucose levels a lot? Are you
Oh yeah, all the time. I'm 80. I post a lot also on my Instagram stories. I just posted yesterday, like 81 milligrams per deciliter, fasted blood sugar. Never in my life, did
yeah.
I have it in the 80s. Sometimes it's 78. Sometimes it's like the 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
I used to be in the 90s and above. Back when I was in my 20s, you would think in your 20s you're the most insulin sensitive, right? I just didn't
Were
have
you
the
doing
muscle
keto
mass.
then?
I was eating carbs every like just I was not really I was eating everything. Like I remember the Starbucks smoothies
Oh.
and the frappuccinos, and I would definitely down. I would just eating everything, pita bread, all that kind of stuff. Right now I do pita bread, I do sourdough, I do beans, I do 200 300 grams of carbs per day, but now my blood sugar is it's the most optimal it's ever been because I have the muscle mass. It sucks it up. I need it. My muscles require all of those carbs to have optimal glycogen stores that would allow me to recover so fast so that I can keep setting PRs with my workouts and keep raising my energy level, my baseline dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin, my thyroid has never been, it's like my metabolism is the fastest I've ever had in my entire life. I need to eat 3,200 calories just to maintain my weight. If I eat less than that, I drop body fat.
So why is it that people pursue ketosis in an effort to like, is it just to achieve that number and that makes them feel good, like an ego boost or a dopamine boost, but like
Yes. It's
be,
to
when it
reverse
doesn't,
insulin. Yeah. Is to reverse insulin resistance. When you reverse insulin resistance very quickly, when you do keto or carnivore and you enter a state of ketosis, you're going to reverse insulin resistance very quickly. So you're going to feel the mental clarity. You're not going to have the brain fog. You're not going to have the crashes. But my suggestion is, unless you have like extreme levels of diabetes for a very
Mhm,
long period of time, if you're
good
just a
point.
little insulin, even if you have diabetes or you just got it, there are so many trials that show how you can actually reverse diabetes and insulin resistance just by lifting weights. Instead of
Yeah,
restriction, just add the muscle so that you can actually consume the carbs, and the carbs are going to be sucked up immediately from your blood into your muscles. And it's
right.
like, isn't that a much better, more powerful way to build a far more resilient human?
Yeah, we're not addressing the whole person. We're only looking at diet alone, then we're
Yeah.
missing the holistic aspect of movement and how, endorphins alone are incredibly therapeutic. So,
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah, no, just for me, like shutting carbs for a decade, it's just really destroyed my metabolism. And I really lasted a long time because I worked out and I raised my baseline dopamine, and that really offset a lot of the negative effects. But have I not worked out, I think I would have really been in a much worse off position. So this
totally.
is why, like, the moment I reintroduced carbs, because my body's already primed with all the muscle, it like the metabolism came back with a vengeance. Like I
Yeah.
can barely keep, I can barely get my hands on food. It's like I need to eat. I don't want, I want to maintain my performance, and I want to ensure I'm not in a deficit. So now if I eat anything less than 3,200 calories, I'm dropping body fat. It's
So, I think
insane.
you bring up a really interesting point in that
Yeah.
I think we're trained, at least in these keto carnivore groups, to not want to eat more often. It's like trying to hack your body's own intelligence and only eat one time a day or only eat two times a day. And then the inner judge comes in and the judge says, "How dare you?" or "How
Yeah.
shameful for needing to eat more than twice a day." And when you start to really
Yeah.
eat grounding whole single ingredient foods,
Yep.
you come to realize, oh my gosh, I'm not just repairing my relationship to my body, but to my hunger. And your hunger is the key in like every other thing that we pursue
Yeah.
outside of eating food too. It's people's substance abuse and use, right?
Yes. There's
It's
a
the,
dopamine. If you there we all want a certain level of dopamine to be optimized, and if you're not building it the right way, you're gonna find it in so many other areas like distraction and social media or like in drugs. And
absolutely.
why get that dopamine hit from those places where you can build it so your brain is naturally creating it? Why not raise your baseline dopamine
Yeah.
the right way? It's an investment in your health and in your mental capacities that are going to pay you back dividends for decades, as you're only going to get better.
I think you bring up a key point as to why the keto carnivore group attracts addicts.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like that's how I also, like, I started, okay, keto, but then I was still doing binges. So it's like, okay, well, maybe carnivore. And then no, it actually triggers a worse off form.
Mhm.
Initially, it's all great. But the longer you stick with it, right? And
Yeah.
especially if you have ambition and if you have goals and you want to, what I focus on so much, the Adderall effect, raising baseline dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin, the more I want to do that, I need to perform with my workouts at a higher and higher level to achieve the Adderall effect. And at that point, this is when I stopped being able to recover in time to hit those PRs. And then that's when you plateau. And then you have cravings. It's like, well, all this work that I did, all this benefits that I've seen with raising baseline dopamine, well, now it's backfiring. And that
Yeah.
is when I reintroduce carbs. Yeah, like I make sure I eat before my workouts now. It's like I have to have fuel before my workouts.
Mm.
Whereas in the past, it was like a badge of honor to not eat or to, and it's like the worst thing you
That
could
right
do.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I just literally just got off it with a client call right before we started. Carnivore 2.5 years gave her anorexia, and now she's like, I get a dopamine hit from not eating, and if I have a shake before I have a client, that shake it doesn't she misses out on the dopamine hit she would have otherwise gotten from not eating before a client call, and now she feels like she's not as mentally there, clear, like the verbal fluency, the mental clarity, the energy,
Yeah.
all that stuff is not there because she deprived herself from that dopamine hit. So now we're helping her raise her baseline dopamine with running, using dopamine,
Yes.
norepinephrine, serotonin, so that she can go back and refuel her brain and build the dopamine center, so that she no longer feels a gap in her dopamine, so that the restriction is no longer a source of dopamine. She's already making her own dopamine.
Good for her. Well, eating disorders are the most fatal of all mental illnesses, right? So if a diet specifically, the byproduct of that was heavy restriction, then obviously the diet wasn't the answer. And then we also have to go into why are we leaning so heavily on a diet as a cure-all, right? Like we cannot become so addicted to our diet and forego the whole reason why it is that we're seeking food in place of, you know, God or like a connection at all, right? To
Yes.
something bigger than us.
Yes, exactly. I don't understand that. I don't understand the inability to see that most people are going to thrive without a carnivore. They're actually going to be damaged by carnivore, and they're going to thrive by reintroducing carbs. Just, it's one thing to say, I choose to do this because I don't want to work out and it's just easier to just do carnivore, and I don't want to do all the work to heal my gut and do all the, because then you need more advanced nutrition knowledge. It's one thing
Right.
to say that and be very clear about that. It's something else to say that this is the best for everybody and this is the optimal human diet, and if you have a carbohydrate, it's going to kill you. It's like,
So
that's
this is
just not borne by any piece of evidence.
no, that's why I wrote a blog post. Anyone here is welcome to access it on defense mechanisms in this specific diet space. I mean, I've never seen so many defense mechanisms, and the black and white all or nothing thinking is one of the biggest ones, right?
Uh-huh.
And that fantasy kind of magical thinking,
Yeah.
the projection, I mean,
Yeah.
there are so many. It triggers people, right?
Yeah, nutrition turns out to be a very sensitive topic for everybody because
On par with
yeah,
religion and politics, I would say.
yeah, definitely. And I feel like we're in the midst of it, especially me, it was like, especially doing carnivore, being on the first ever carnivore documentary, and then realizing that that was actually the worst thing that I ever did for
You
myself.
were on were you on Animal? Was that the one?
And the first documentary that was ever done was called Reverse TV Series. It was directed by Charles Maddox. He's actually the nephew of Bob Marley. He's great. He's my friend. We always talk, and
I have to see it.
he's like, I'm so proud of you for doing that. Like this whole carnivore crazy, and he's the director of the show. And it's like this whole carnivore is getting out of control.
It's an identity thing. I think that's the biggest part is like, how dare I said something 10 years ago and how dare I change? It's like, if we're not here for the
Mm.
way that we're meant to evolve, then there's a problem,
I
right?
think,
Like,
like you said, it's and I've made a video on that. I think it's a personality type. You have pretty much all of the carnivore big influencers are very kind of ultra far right, very conservative, very, it's like restriction, conservatism, tradition, right? And I'm like the only liberal progressive, and I'm the only one that's like, no, let's do more, let's reach for the stars. And so when you
yeah,
do that, you need fuel, right? And this is why carbohydrates, when we introduced them in the agricultural revolution 10 to 12,000 years ago, it turbocharged civilization. All of a sudden, our brains ran on much higher levels of dopamine and serotonin, and we were able to progress and evolve a lot faster than the caveman ancestors. They were literally cavemen because they didn't have access to as much carbs.
there's a whole
So
reason why we
I think
evolved.
it's a personality thing. It's deeper than just, it's that's the root of it, in my opinion. I hope you are enjoying this podcast. If you are a psycho like me, or you want to be a psycho like me, and you want to create an insane physique and brain, if you want to create a superhuman that runs on very high levels of baseline dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin, what I like to call the Adderall effect, then make sure you reach out for coaching at drsarahzoliver.com/coaching. I have a lot of coaching packages that can fit every budget, and you get unlimited email support in a lot of them, meal plan adjustments, exercise adjustments, so that we can build the brain up again, which will go along with a lower body weight set point, a fitter physique, and more and more income. As you climb the ladder on the Adderall effect, at every higher level, you're going to be making way more money because people sense that energy and they want a piece of that. Whatever you're selling, they're buying. So if that is something that is interesting to you, check out my coaching at drsarahzoliver.com/coaching. Also, make sure you are signed up for my free newsletter at drsarahzoliver.com/newsletter, where I give you all of my updated research and everything that I'm working on to create a superhuman, a super breed race of humanity that can target any problem, any challenge. No event is going to be ever stressful enough for you. You will always be reaching for more, making more money, having much better relationships, much better health, much better skin. I mean, everything. It's the gift that keeps on giving. So make sure you're on my newsletter at drsarahzoliver.com/newsletter. And now back to the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I know, and why we find it necessary to regress and be so polarizing,
Yeah. Yeah.
divisive, because then it does become like a political argument when you should stand tall on your mountain and yell from the rooftops, like, this is what's working. Like, let's all feel good
Yeah, yeah,
together.
yeah.
Let's hold hands and do this. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it really need not be this whole thing. I don't know why a lots of big accounts got triggered just by the mere fact that a lot of us are posting content. I really started the whole thing by starting posting videos about how when is it time to reintroduce carbs? And just a few weeks after I started posting all this stuff about the deficiencies on carnivore and how I'm reintroducing carbs and my clients are finding insane benefits, I'm finding I've lost even more body fat. My body's never looked as good in my entire life. Just a few weeks of me posting those, a couple of major, like big, popular carnivore influencers also shared that and admitted that it's also not working for them and they're introducing carbs. Now, since then, I think they got so much backlash and they kind of like try not to talk about it. They
yes.
gotta run. Running gives you courage. And so, but basically, I feel like that's where the whole revolution started. Because once I did that, and then a few weeks later, they mentioned that they're also no longer carnivore, then all hell broke loose, and every carnivore channel and their mother is creating content about, is everybody quitting carnivore? What's
Yeah.
going on?
Yeah. I call this the proverbial food fight.
That's just funny. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
mean, it shouldn't, it's because of other major carnivores that felt the need, as if somebody asked their opinion, they felt the need to bully and attack and defame, which is a very, very serious criminal crime. Just
Mhm.
remember that the next time you try to do something like that. And
Mhm.
so though they started attacking certain people, like Zayn, and and so they're the ones who are having issues. We couldn't like I don't care. I'm not thinking about the drama or whatever. But
At this
yeah, it's what's the point? What's the point? I don't even answer. All of
Well, at
all
this
of
point, we're
the.
not even talking about food and nutrition anymore. We're talking about a threat to their identity.
I
And
guess
I
so. I
think
guess
that's what people
yeah.
people are really out to protect, because if you weren't out to protect your identity, you wouldn't care what anybody else is eating. You'd just be like, "Hey, could you maybe be open-minded enough to incorporate some carbohydrates? You might feel better. Just try it." But it's so much of a block, and that block has way more to do with ego identity than, oh, I'd love to do right by my body and maybe just befriend her, or my hunger,
Right.
right? Like that seems like the untouchable.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I don't understand that. Like I don't understand why anybody would be triggered by whatever somebody a strange like literally a stranger on their own channels are doing for their own audience, not for you guys, it's for my audience.
Yep.
Why would you even care? You do your thing, we're doing our thing. Never once have I ever commented on any other influencer, health, fitness, any field. I never go on any influencer and not ever in my entire life and comment. If I disagree with something, I don't have to go to their page to do that. I'll create a content about the scientific principle or and I
Hey.
would say why this is not maybe something you would want to do.
Yep.
But I would never go. But yeah, apparently not everybody is like that.
Yeah. Well, and I think, at least from my lens, that presents a much more damaging issue than, whatever you're having for breakfast.
And
I
people
think
don't care about the drama. Like we're here to help people thrive, not some people create whole businesses around the drama. That's the only way they can get views instead of actually offering something new for humanity.
and to recognize there's still so many people
uh,
out there hurting. Not
yeah,
everybody loses weight on carnivore. In fact, I would imagine that the majority of people gain weight, at least eventually, if not in the beginning, towards the end.
yeah,
Why else do we pivot, right? Like, why
yeah,
else do we confront, oh, I had this block and maybe I wasn't as open-minded, and oh, maybe I was
yeah,
polarizing, and maybe I should humble myself, and maybe I have deeper rooted issues that I could work out in therapy, and then we can just get back to what serves our individual bodies the best. And I think
yeah,
this is where you and Zane and others come in, that are just like, let's like embrace the holistic,
yes.
like
Why
you call
can't
them.
we all just get along?
Why can't, like our world would be a better place if we really looked at the underbelly of the issue, right?
Yeah,
Rather than
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know, one single
I think
temporary
I think
solution.
if they just ran, they'll be a lot happier. They wouldn't be as triggered and they wouldn't feel the need to go and bully other people who have no relationship to them and are not thinking about them and not even creating content for them. It's like, and no, the best, the funny thing is like they'll follow our accounts, they'll be in our stories just so that they would hate. And it's like, if you're a hate follow, dude, you gotta get a life,
Yes.
just.
It's a terrible, terrible waste of time.
Oh my God. Exactly. You have to go, don't you, right?
Yeah, we have so much more to talk about, but let's just schedule that for the next chat.
Yes. Let us know what you want us to talk about in our third interview. Put it in the comments, and we'll make sure we dedicate another interview to answer all your questions or the things that you're interested in. Thank you so much, Katie. Where can people find you, connect with you, and work with you?
Therapeutic eating across the board. Katie Zarko, therapeutic eating.
Awesome. I'll make sure the links to your socials are in the description box below underneath this YouTube video. Thank you so much, Katie. This was fun.
Yes, always. I can't wait till next time.
Likewise. Thank you everybody for sticking with us till the end. If you enjoyed this kind of video, make sure you let me know by giving this YouTube video a thumbs up, subscribing, and hitting that little notification bell icon so YouTube alerts you every time I post a new video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.